Hi, it's me, Termo, Motivation and Beard. Welcome to this new video. I'd like to start as usual by thanking you for the comments, the likes and shares. It all helps our cause so much, as I am going to be taking one of us shortly to meet the technicians and get familiar with the prosthetics. And so all this is working well, and this is also thanks to you. Thanks to you who share and make this all happen. As always, I invite you to write in the comments any questions you may have, whatever they may be. I'm here to answer them, so don't limit yourself in asking. Before I start, I also wanted to confirm what I had previously said, which is that I'm slowly starting to record collaborations with professionals, doctors, nurses, and physical therapists. Many paths are opening up. People are curious and want to know more about the project. They want to help me in making sure that this project can move forward. And I will definitely not stop them. In fact, they're welcome to it. And if there are any professional, even among you, who would like to contribute to this cause and help me to move this project forward in the way you can, with advices at any level, like settings for the videos, rather than improved communication. Or even if you have a story to tell, let me know if you would like to contribute in any way, so that we can organize and make sure that this campaign, this project, can reach and help everyone. Well, with that being said, let's start with today's video. We had left off last time on bone refracturing. Fortunately, in Pisa, as I said, I have relatives, one of whom worked in a hospital. Thanks to him, we were able to do some analysis immediately, because it was Sunday morning. And we could immediately see that the bone was broken. So they put a cast on me, trying to keep everything together, at least for the trip from Tuscany to Emilia-Romagna. I arrived, if not mistaken, the next day, because I couldn't go right away, since doctors weren't available. So I went then on Monday to be checked by the doctor and, unfortunately, ended up immediately in the operating room. I remember that when I was pulled to the surgery room bed, I saw my foot going the other way. It was another peculiar scene regarding my foot, just as the night of the accident. In the end, I went back to having external nails. It was a relatively short operation. This time, they had to put nails on the inside of my foot as well, as you can see in the picture to my left. It was much more difficult than at the beginning, not only because there were nails in the foot and therefore I could not even walk, because the only contact with the ground will really hurt me. But on a psychological level, I had gone from getting out of the hospital, actually being able to get back to normal, to be back in the hospital, and then nails again, which equals I can't move anymore. I experienced this process very heavily, because I wasn't ready for it. As much as I was scared, I hadn't considered that, and actually the bone breaking caught me off guard, so it was really hard to get through this step. Theoretically, these external nails were to be there only shortly, because we will have to do another type of operation later on to remove the nails that were put in such a way as to block the ankle, to insert a definitive big internal nail. Before evaluating it though, the doctors proposed me to put the Ilizarov system on. As I told you last time, the Ilizarov is a machine that is put inside the limb, then connected inside the bones, and thanks to a mechanism, it helps the bones to lengthen. This would involve at least one operation per month for at least a year, and that was something I absolutely did not want to consider. We had also asked through my mother for help from an expert, a doctor who was very famous in Italy for this type of surgery and for having treated these types of cases like mine, who had worked for some time alongside to the doctor who actually operated me and saved my life the first time. He was the one who proposed the antibiotic nail to be inserted inside the leg. Basically, it was a nail of about 40 centimeters with an antibiotic inside that will be inserted inside the tibia, starting from the knee. to go and release the antibiotic inside the bone, thus eliminating all the infections that theoretically had to be there. The nail, compared to the Lizarov, seemed like a better choice, for the simple fact that I wouldn't have to keep doing operations for a year, and I wouldn't have an external machine connected inside my body for a year, which would also limit what I could do. So I decided to start going down the nail road. But to get to that point, it had to be a few months, and instead of having these external nails for a week, I carried them until the external nails were removed and the big internal one inserted. That was a big problem, because I had a slightly shorter leg, which led my foot to be slightly tilted, and the bones in my ankle had calcified in that position. As you may recall, I had no sensibility in my foot. My nerves no longer worked too well, and so even with physiotherapy afterwards, I was no longer able to regain a normal posture. But coming back to us, finally, after a few months, I was able to get to the hospital in Reggio Emilia, where this other doctor worked. So we began all the tests and X-rays in order to schedule the operation, to insert the antibiotic nail. I remember the abysmal difference I noticed between one hospital and the other. The first hospital was a public hospital, while the second one was private. So I could even choose my meals in advance. Before going into the operation, they gave us a pre-anesthetic, which the nurses sympathetically called the pre-operation joint, because it gave more or less that little dizzy effect, so that when you had to do the anesthesia, which I have not yet told you about, but I will shortly, you should be much easier to handle. When you do operations like that, the anesthesia is done on the marrow. You are put in a fetal position, curled up on yourself, trying to extend your back as much as possible. Then the anesthesiologist inserts a very long syringe inside the back until it slightly penetrates the marrow. There, he releases the anesthetic, which will then numb the legs or the affected part so that the doctors can operate without the patient feeling anything. It's a bad feeling, especially waking up afterwards, because it takes time to recover. So finally, once the surgery was scheduled, my father and I went to Reggio Emilia a day early so that we could get everything set up. Also because my father had to rent a small apartment to stay there. I remember Reggio Emilia was empty. There was no one there because it was the middle of July, and it was almost grotesque because I was walking around on crutches and the echo of the noises of the crutches bounced off the walls between the buildings. A few days later was going to be Ligabue concert, an Italian singer, and so my father had also a really hard time finding a place to stay for the night. But in the end we managed to get everything sorted out and got ready for the surgery. In the morning I entered the operating room, as I said before, with this pre-anesthetic, and I had the anesthesia. That, although the first anesthetic helped to feel less and to remain calm, it still hurt a lot. I asked to be put to sleep, and I remember waking up half through the procedure. The feeling I had was that I was in a workshop. I could hear this hammering, which confused me, and I woke up being like, where am I? A nurse who was standing next door immediately noticed that I was waking up, so they gave me another dose and I fell asleep again. I want to do a little background on the pre-op nail removal. I still remember the sensation and at one point even the pain of the unscrewed nail, because the nails were inserted and screwed inside my bones. The pain was really bad. At first it was more like an itch, tickle. But then, in some of the bones it started to really hurt a lot. They did it before they gave me the pre-anesthetic, because otherwise I would have wasted it, which was much more needed for the puncture on my back. I remember, after I woke up, feeling like I was finally okay, even though I really wasn't. Once that surgery and the various checks were over, I began to get up slowly. and it was finally the first time I could walk again. There, I began to experience the first problems, namely that I was walking on the outside of my foot. That's all for today. I thank you for everything you do, for the comments, for the likes, for the shares, for everything. It's very important to me, and it's also important to all the people you are helping in sharing this content, and the people who contact me. They talk to me about their situations to get help. I'm so happy to be able to do what was done for me when I was in need. I invite you to share this video, comment if you have any thoughts, questions, anything like that. Don't be shy about it. I'm here to respond to comments. I'm here to communicate and talk to you. So I have no problem responding to your comments. If as of today you have not yet subscribed to my channel, I invite you to do so now by clicking on the subscribe button, turning on notifications via the bell so that you will no longer miss any of my content. With that being said, all that remains is for me to say goodbye. See you in the next video.
This party's out of control.